I ate my brother in the womb, and throughout my entire life, he has been taking revenge. My name is Adam. And for 28 years of my life, I've been living a constant nightmare because my brother is trying to kill me from inside my own. My mother said I was a miracle, not a child. Until I was 4, I very rarely cried. I was a quiet and calm boy, attended kindergarten, and learned new things quickly. But of course, I don't remember any of that. The only thing I remember from those years is that at 4, while lying in bed, I felt an itch deep in my stomach, which at first caused me merely discomfort. It felt as if someone with tiny fingers was scratching the walls of my stomach from the inside. When I told my mother that something was itching inside me, she became tense and stroked my belly, humming various songs, and usually that helped. But only briefly. I continued to feel it, not every day, of course, but with increasing frequency. By the time I was 6, I first began to scream and cry when the pain in my stomach became unbearable. Something inside me, with cruelty and rage, seemed to try to break free. My mother thought it might be parasites, called an ambulance, but the doctors found nothing. After that incident, my mother began to cry more often when looking at me, and I didn't understand why. By the time I was 8, I felt movement in my throat that made me choke for air and cough violently, sometimes even with blood. A couple of times it felt as if something slimy and flexible was crawling from bottom to top, like through a pipe, and then I'd cry until my eyes hurt. I thought I was dying, and looking back now, I wish I really had. Because after these episodes, I would start vomiting violently and for a long time. A couple of times, something long and thin, resembling a fingernail, came out of me. Other times, something that looked like skin. My mother constantly prayed for my health and cried. Took me to doctors, but they labeled my condition differently: eczema, allergy, hypersensitivity, and so on. DB, all of it was false. When I tried to explain to my mother what I felt, I said, "There's something inside me." And then she broke down crying again, and then she explained why. My mother told me she was pregnant with twins, 2 boys. The early pregnancy went fairly normally until something terrible happened. I had eaten my brother in the womb. The doctor said it was vanishing twin syndrome. During a routine ultrasound, the doctors noticed that one fetus had suddenly stopped developing. It just disappeared, and I had absorbed him. I was born alone, without serious health problems, but my twin brother had not disappeared as the doctors thought. He remained inside me, not dead, but alive. From the pain in my entire body, my mother held me close, gently stroking my body. And only one song she heard on a religious program calmed my brother. My mother's voice was distant, almost reverent. When she softly sang, "Jesus loves you, can't you see? He loves you, and he loves me, dot, dot, dot." Only these two slightly eerie lines, sung in her voice, drew my brother's attention, and he calmed down. And yet, things only got worse by the year when I was 11. Standing at the mirror washing my hands, I noticed my chest under my shirt swelling slightly, which made my legs tremble with fear, and tears welled in my eyes. I stood motionless for a second until someone pressed a palm from the inside and began to push, causing me pain that bent me over. My heart pounded wildly, and I begged my brother to stop. "Please, stop, little brother. I didn't mean. Please, stop. I'm sorry." I begged as best I could, sobbing from the pain, and he actually stopped, only to begin pounding against my ribs. After my mother took me to a pediatrician again, but he said it could be a muscle spasm or nervous tic. And after that, I became afraid of mirrors. I constantly felt that when I turned away, someone stayed in the reflection, a shadow, a smile, but not mine. Sometimes my reflection's lips moved, but I stayed silent. And at those moments, something seemed to whisper inside my skull, something very quiet and indistinct. At school, I was quiet and withdrawn. I didn't have friends, not because I didn't want them, but because there was weight inside me. My brother saw the world through me, heard me speak, and envied me. He grew angry when I was happy. It was easy to understand, because any time I started laughing at a classmate's joke, my heart would race, my fingers grow cold, sweat would drip from my forehead. and that tightness in my chest. Oh, how I hated it. The real horror began. Eighth grade, when I kissed a girl I had met on the street. We talked nicely, went on dates, and this was my first teenage love. Her name was Lyra, and when we finally kissed, my brother began to tear my stomach apart with savage strength, pain unlike any I had felt before. I almost fainted, and at night the skin on my stomach split in 3 places, oozy, thick fluid, seeped from the wounds. The doctors just shrugged, saying I was completely healthy, and my mother turned further to God, begging for my healing. The real horror began when I turned 18. I learned to live with this discomfort as impossible as it sounds. I learned to tolerate periodic pain under my ribs. I accepted that my skin sometimes twitched oddly in the mirror. I even sometimes managed to negotiate with him, because the only thing my brother felt was hatred for me. He hated me for not giving him life, but even more he hated when I was joyful. That's why I tried not to make friends, to smile less, not to fall in love, just so he wouldn't become jealous and cause me less pain. And yet I couldn't stop his growth that my teeth began to fall out. Just one moment, I was brushing them, and one fell into the sink. The next morning I woke up and another fell out. By evening, 2 more were gone. A couple of weeks passed and new ones grew, only longer and harder. One even split. I went to the dentist, but he just shook his head and said, "This only happens in cases of CAMERSM ... And it's really very rare. You're not a twin, are you?" Unfortunately, yes. Studying in college, I began to notice that in the mirror. The right half of my face seemed shifted. My jaw seemed displaced, and my right eye started twitching. My little brother was trying to control them from the other side. Things got yet worse when I started dreaming I was tearing myself apart. I ripped my chest and stomach open with my own hands to pull out my brother, naked and slimy, his face exactly like mine, but with dead eyes. He began to move, then grabbed my throat and whispered, "Are you living well, brother? When you can eat, be happy, smell, do everything you took from me. You took my life, and I will take yours." I awoke, gasping in terror and pain. Panic attacks haunted me almost every night after such dreams. When I fainted again during a college exam, and the doctor said it was due to stress, I wanted to kill myself, because seconds before losing consciousness, I felt something inside me moving upward. And it wasn't blood or a cramp. It was my twisted brother, trying to escape ... in the dorm. I felt rustling under my skin. Movements resumed. I disrobed myself fully and saw a horrifying sight. My brother slowly crawling from my collarbone to my shoulder, and then I couldn't resist. Grabbing a knife, I began cutting my body. Tears flowed from unbearable, hellish pain. Panic engulfed me, but I couldn't stop. I had to pull him out. I couldn't feel his pulsing inside me anymore. His movement. I don't remember how I got to the hospital. I think my roommate came in when I was already lying in a pool of my own blood on the floor. They stitched me up, and I heard a nurse speaking to a doctor. He was saying something about his brother, who was inside him. He tried to take him out. Classical schizophrenia? The doctor sighed. They almost sent me to a psychiatric hospital, but thankfully they didn't. Yet the nightmare inside me continued. I underwent another ultrasound, but doctors found neither parasites nor tumors. They spoke of somatic hallucinations, and it drove me mad. How could doctors not find what is living inside me? It simply could not be real. I thought I was going insane, but the pain and wounds were real. It was something paranormal. My brother was supposed to be dead, but he remained alive inside me. Life, of course, flowed downward. I changed many jobs, but he wouldn't let me work properly. In moments of stress, and I was stressed nearly always, I lost my balance, and my brother only made things worse. Kicking and moving inside me, causing unbearable pain that nothing helped not, painkillers. Nothing ... except that song. At the moment when I could no longer bear the pain, I began to hum in a trembling, breaking voice. "Jesus loves you. Can't you see he loves you and he loves me?" I gulped air greedily, trying not to pass out, and continued singing, until my brother stopped trying to punch a hole in my stomach to escape. And yet, he kept growing. So the constant itch turned into constant. Excruciating burning, endless bone pain, and my spine cracked sometimes with such a sound I thought it had broken. I began sleeping far less than before, and when I did sleep, I saw the same monstrous dreams where my brother finally emerged from me. Everything escalated when I started waking up in unfamiliar places, with horrifying pain throughout my body, blood caked under my nails, large purple bruises on my chest, and I didn't remember how I got there. Once I woke up on the floor of my own apartment. My nails were broken, and carved on the floor with my own nails was the phrase, "I want to live." It went on for about 2 weeks until I met Emily. She was understanding, gentle, and intelligent. We quickly started dating and even moved in together. How did my brother react? Extremely negatively. But I was blinded by love and happiness. And over time, the pain became easier to bear. For the month and a half Emily and I were together, I was happier than ever. Until one day, she woke up choking in her own tears. Adam. Adam, what are you saying? What's wrong, dear? You were whispering, but it wasn't your voice. You said I shouldn't be near you because you're already taken. I tried to explain it all, and she thought I was seriously traumatized, assumed it was due to problems with my mother. She sincerely tried to help me, even came with me to a psychotherapist, but then something terrible happened. And I still blame myself for letting myself love Emily, for ever coming close to her. I came to from Emily's scream. She was standing by the wall, naked, her body covered with blood and marks from nails and blows. There were signs of strangulation around her neck. She stood trembling in hysteria, but I swear I didn't do that. It was my brother. I looked at my nails, they were black and broken. My hands were covered in blood. When Emily turned her back, I saw a word carved with a knife. Mine. Emily said she wouldn't report it to the police, since you demanded it. She begged not to kill her. Fighting nausea. I tried to explain it wasn't me, but she just fled my apartment, and I never saw her again. In that moment, I realized that my brother was no longer just inside me. He began controlling my body. He's preparing to come out of me. I went to a surgeon in a private clinic. He had only recently come to my city. He agreed to conduct a full examination after I showed him old scans and described my MRI symptoms. After the procedure, the surgeon was gone. Only a pale, trembling nurse remained. As usual, I expected to hear that nothing was found, but the nurse, in a broken voice, said, "It's not a tumor." I demanded a report, demanded to speak with the surgeon, but when I called him, he said, "There's something inside you." Alive. I consulted a geneticist and you have too. Types of DNA, though you probably already knew that. But the structure living in you is clearly parasitic. It's possible when one fetus absorbs another, but your case, it defies explanation. Sorry, all the best. Medicine is powerless here. A week later, my mother died. Heart failure. I stood, alone by her coffin, and in that moment, even my brother stopped stirring, and if before his calm brought me some solace, in that moment I didn't care. I lost all hope for healing, for a normal life. The only thing I wanted was to die. That's why I tried to kill myself. But as soon as I opened the bottle of antidepressants and the whiskey to overdose, my hand stopped obeying me. My guts twisted. Sharply. I barely managed to realize something before I passed out. I went days without eating, and yet he still forced me to eat. Every time he took control of my body, only to continue tormenting me and keep growing. Now I'm already 28. A full 28 years I've lived in constant nightmare. And it seems this will soon end. A month after my birthday, the skin under my chest has been constantly tight, and I distinctly started hearing a second heartbeat. He is no longer an infant, apparently. He is almost fully formed, and very soon will come out. Last night was the most terrifying. I fell asleep on the couch, completely drained recently. I lost 20 kilos, but my stomach continues to grow. And last night, when I awoke, the pain hit harder than ever. My ribs cracked. Every breath brought horrible pain. My throat swelled heavily, making breathing even harder, practically impossible. I fell clutching my stomach, screaming and sobbing. Forgive me. God, I beg you, forgive me. Please, I didn't want this. I didn't want to kill you, little brother. I beg you, forgive me. I am so sorry to you, but I didn't mean it. Forgive me, dot dot. Through snot, tears, and blood, gasping for air from pain, I began to sing from my last. Strength. Jesus loves you, dot dot dot, can't you see? My voice broke, and I had to pause for a few seconds before I could speak again. He loves you, and he loves me, dot dot dot, and then the pain stopped. Just for a moment. For the first time, I heard my brother's voice inside my skull. I finally began to understand his speech. He whispered, I forgive you. But now it's my turn to live, my turn to eat, my turn to breathe, my turn to love. He has been reshaping me from the inside lately. My bones are shifting. The pain is such that I think some of my organs have even torn. My skin is unnaturally stretched. I feel that this week he will emerge from me, and I am looking forward to it. I even began to understand him. Even though I didn't want to, I still stole his life, and now he wants it back. It is incredibly hard for me to write about this here, and it's not just the pain, but morally it's very difficult. You know, as I write this, I hear him humming that same song. Jesus loves you. Can't you see? He loves you, and he loves me, dot dot dot.